Disabled Hiker, Episode 3. Been a long time getting out here. I had a very bad night's sleep. I did not sleep well at all last night. So I'm coming out here and I'm already very tired, very worn out. So maybe I'll get some rest. Brought my little buddy for the first time, solo, just me and him. But I figured I'd take a little time and show you exactly what I'm up against here. For being on the trail, difficulty level, for a disabled person, this is bad. My back is screaming in pain. The trail is rough. Rougher than I remember it. I haven't been through here in quite a few years, but it's starting to come back to me now. He's pooped too. He's doing good though. He's doing very good. He's off the leash. He's staying right with me. He's listening to everything I tell him. I must admit I'm in a lot of pain. I'm out here on just a few hours sleep, which doesn't help matters either. And then when you turn up the pain level a bit, I'll feel better when I get up to the spring. See if I'll make it. Some people have asked, what do I do when I'm out here and I get one of my dizzy spells? That's why I carry walking sticks. I can still balance, it's just everything feels like it's spinning. Sometimes they last longer than others. So stay back, please. He worries about me though.
Fortunate for me, Tushonka can do far more than just worry about me. And with a little bit of training, he has become one of the greatest assets I could ever have. Within an hour's time, I was able to show him this one very helpful trick. Without the use of a cane, Tushonka allows me to exert up to 60 pounds of pressure onto his back.
Hey, Tushonka, help. Help. Good boy, stay.
The first time I had reason to use this trick in a practical sense, I had taken a rather nasty fall on a blind corner next to a rather busy street. Within seconds of uttering the command, help, Tushonka was right there, helping me to my feet.
I'll go sit down now. Wait for it to pass the rest of the way. I wonder how long that mosquito's been biting me in the head. Gotta take it easy, I gotta remember, got a long way to go. I don't want to use it all up all at once. My eyes are on the trail so I don't fall on my head. Should be very interesting and a lot of fun. Good boy. Good boy.
Most hikers will tell you that when it comes to water, if you don't carry it, you have to treat it or filter it. As a person dealing with physical issues, I'm sure you can imagine that the last thing I want to be out here is sick. So it's been a long time since I've thrown caution to the wind on this issue. It's become sort of a ritual. As soon as camp is set up, it's time to grab the filter and head for the spring to fill up on some clean water. Most hikers from eastern PA will recognize this spring right off, as few springs spill so beautifully onto an ancient half shell of a long extinct quarter keg of beer. And this spring at Outer Bridger's shelter along the Appalachian Trail offers some of the best water I've ever had.
This is the Sawyer Mini. Figured I'd bring it up and give it a try. Comes with his own little back flushing kit and a water bottle for the dirty water. Works pretty easy, it's not too bad. Screws onto the water bottle or water bag like that. Fill the water bag. Which is easier in some springs and harder in others. Now, of the people I found that are using this, from what I understand, the hardest thing is that the flow rate is so slow. But to be honest, it's probably as fast as any other water filter I've used. I've often thought about just gravity feeding this as well. It probably would be pretty easy to do as well.
At only 2 ounces, the Sawyer Mini is undoubtedly the lightest water filter I've ever carried. And if it lives up to the manufacturer's claims of a 100,000 gallon lifespan, it could be the last water filter I ever need to buy.
Now they say this is pretty good in that you can pretty much drink almost out of any water source with it. And if it gets clogged, you just simply back flush it with the syringe that's supplied with it. I don't usually have to drink from such dirty water sources, so.
Although they may seem like the filter for all seasons, Sawyer filters do come with a serious do not freeze warning. So I personally would not recommend this filter for winter or cold weather hiking.
Mosquitoes have been biting me, even though I have bug repellent on. But such is life. I kind of work on the premise that if you swat one mosquito, 16 others will come. They say the other thing that happens is these water bags give out too soon. But I noticed that they seem to fit very well right onto the platypus bag. That's why I just filled one. Back at the camp, I just filled one up with dirty water. I figure I'll just filter it at camp when I want it, if I need it.
On the whole, I'd have to give the Sawyer Mini a thumbs up for not only being lightweight, but able to be cleaned in the field as well. However, I would not recommend it for people who have trouble moving their hands, such as people with arthritis or other such conditions. But I have no doubt I'll be using the Sawyer Mini again.
night one. And just as predicted, a pretty heavy rainstorm came rushing through the woods at us. There's only seconds to spare to get everything under the tarps, and it's hot and muggy. My little puppy is a little moist. Are you moist? Yeah. He's relatively dry considering how badly it rained, and that he's lower to the ground than I am. That makes it easier for him to pick up moisture. So, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it dries out. I barely had time to even eat anything before I got hit with this little rainstorm. So we'll see. See what happens. But I got a few calories into me anyway before the rain started. Don't see any more until tomorrow morning probably. That's the way it happens sometimes. It's alright. I just hope I can get some sleep. My puppy. Just had a rough day. He did really good though. I think he wanted to go out and play before, but it was awful wet out there. So going out to play wasn't really in the cards. Thankfully he opted to stay dry instead. And hopefully we're both well tonight. Now it is so hot and muggy out. Something I found a few years ago. It's a little fan. Runs on a couple of AA batteries. And the blades are just cellophane. But it cools this tent down very nicely. It's so hot and muggy in here. I mean, it almost feels like you're taking a bath in your own sweat. But with this little puppy going, it's a relief. It's a big relief. Any small fan like this, you know, can really be a lifesaver when you're talking, you know, humidity and heat. And like me, I don't deal with the heat very well. I tend to get kind of wiped out easy. So with something like this, you know, does everybody real good. It has a little base plate so to close it up. Very compact, about the size of a cell phone. Nice, right? I'm kind of tired. So I sleep better out here this time anyway.
Well, good night, Tushonka.
Oh, my puppy dog. Yeah, we had a good night's sleep, huh? Yes, indeed. Good night's sleep in our little bivouac here. It's morning, thank God. The rain is going away. I'm hoping that'll actually kind of kind of nice today. Yesterday was so hot, so muggy, so humid. It took us almost all day to climb this mountain. And it's only 0.58 miles to the top of it. So kind of beat myself up yesterday getting here. But so be it. I'm here. That's the important part. This is a little gem I found from Stanley. Now I have 8 ounces of water in here. And it basically took 13 minutes for 8 ounces of water to boil, which is pretty good. You know, I'm happy with that. Now I did cheat here. This is already hot enough and boiling. I don't really need more heat on it than that. But that's basically how it works. Again, this is by Stanley. There's the logo on the side there. And it came with these 2 cups inside of it. I only brought one with me because I actually found that the can of fuel fits inside too. So by stacking those in there instead of the 2 cups, I'm able to just make one condensed unit, which is kind of nice. You know how I feel about small and economical, you know. And this, you just put out like that. But yeah, I only fill it up 1 cup at a time, and it's 8 ounces of water. Took 13 minutes. Now I've done larger amounts of water in this with my son when we come out here, and it takes a lot longer to boil. So, but that's just the nature of the beast, you know. Coffee is worth it. As irony would have it, I'm still using that same mesh bag that I was using for the homemade set that I had a couple episodes ago. It was for a rain poncho, but hey, it works nice. It still fits inside. Why not?
As a boy growing up in a rural area, poison ivy was everywhere. Up until the age of 9, when I developed an immunity to the irritating effects of poison ivy, there was not a summer that went by that did not involve massive amounts of calamine lotion and oatmeal baths. But not everyone is as lucky as I was to develop such a tolerance to what is often called the scourge of the East. But even after receiving this strange gift of immunity, I found myself still very aware of this plant and its many different appearances and growth patterns. However, it wouldn't be till later that I would also learn of its essential place within our ecosystem, both as a provider of food and protection. In fact, one of the stranger facts I've stumbled across is that only hairless mammals seem to be susceptible to the urushiol oil produced by the poison ivy plant. I've often wondered if this plant created this irritant strictly to repulse the human touch and our destructive nature, or better yet, evolved to protect and nourish those who are pushed aside or pushed out altogether by human encroachment. Either way, there's more to this little plant than meets the eye. Spotting poison ivy is undeniably the first step in avoiding its touch. But that can be difficult if you don't know what to look for. Over the last minute and a half, I've shown you the many different faces of poison ivy. But it is unlikely to do you much good in the field without a few simple observations to take along with you. The first one's an old one, but a good one. Leaves of 3, let it be. However, it's important to know that there is more to it than that. One of the first things to take notice of is how the leaf is actually a cluster of 3 leaves, with the 2 outer leaves having short stems and the middle leaf having a longer one. This is poison ivy's calling card. And whereas there are a few individual leaf patterns, this 3-leaf cluster always remains the same. Once you set your eye to look for this pattern, you will soon surprise yourself with how fast and easy picking out the poison ivy will be. One of the other familiar traits of poison ivy is its often thick and hairy vines, as seen here growing up this tree. Poison ivy is one of the few plants that can grow both as a creeping vine and as a single plant, often doing both within the same lifetime. Poison ivy is rarely seen by humans as anything but a horrendous nuisance. However, in reality, its leaves and berries provide needed sustenance to a long list of animals including deer, squirrels, mice, turkeys, and rabbits. In fact, mice and several species of insects use poison ivy as shelter and at times as sort of a nursery to protect the young. It has long been my understanding that it is our continued and evolving separation from our true environment that causes such discomfort at the hands, or should I say leaves, of this stealthy and misunderstood plant. So today, man seems to live as a contradiction in the wilderness, clutching his bottle of calamine lotion and being suspicious of everything that touches him, never realizing that often within feet of where they came in contact with the poison ivy, an antidote to its effects was silently growing nearby. This is jewelweed, also known as spotted or pale touch-me-not, and despite its suggested hands-off nickname, it is also known as the aloe of the East. Although recognized by indigenous peoples as a medicinal plant since the beginning of time, it is almost completely overlooked today. Craving shade and moisture, jewelweed's soft-toothed broad leaves and succulent watery stem is easy to spot even in early spring.
I was able to find myself some jewelweed. Remember, nice wide leaves with the cut edges. Okay, I'm going to show you how to process this. We pulled it out of the ground. We're going to break off the root ball. Okay, we're not going to need that, so put that aside. And you take this and you basically mush it all up. Alright, and it'll start to get really juicy. Okay, I don't know if you can see the shine on my hands or not from the moisture. Okay, and then you basically just wash yourself with it. Now, of course, you'll turn a lovely off shade of green while you're doing it, but it's preferable to having a rash from the poison ivy. Stuff is excellent. Nullifies the poison ivy immediately. Breaks down the oils. And then pretty much just get rid of that. Okay? Poison ivy free.
Jewelweed can also be used to soothe skin that's had contact with stinging nettles, as well as soothe other topical rashes. As only nature would have it, cause and cure grows side by side.
Very old. Very effective. We've had a good time. Met some good people out here. And I decided to start a little fire. Just to keep the bugs down. They were really driving me nuts before, especially when I was getting water. But this little guy here, he's shaping up real good as a hiking dog. He knows his rules, and when I call him, he comes. He's doing real good. Very proud of him. One of the best hiking dogs I think I've ever had. So tomorrow I'll be heading out of here, heading home. It's always a sort of melancholy that comes along with that thought. I love it out here.
After a full day's rest and rejuvenation in the wilderness, I was able to get my pain level down to half of what it is at home.
But everybody's got to go home sometime, right?
When it comes to looking for a place to hike, quiet is at the top of my list. And despite the noise from the traffic I knew I would find here, I chose Outer Bridge Shelter because of its reliable spring. Springs along the Appalachian Trail can be unreliable at this time of year. As it turns out, this was good planning, as through hikers informed me that springs were dry in both directions.
Met a through hiker today who goes, they all have trail names, of course, on the Appalachian Trail. And this young man's name was Thor. A very interesting young man. I was very happy to sit with him for several hours and talk. He blew out a pair of shoes, and I gave him a roll of duct tape that I have. It's actually just some duct tape wrapped around a pencil or a dowel rod, and patch up his shoes long enough to get to a town to get some shoes to replace them. But I'd like to say hi to him right now because hopefully by the time this video comes out, he'll be just about getting home, you know. He's a southbounder, so. Now it's getting ready to get dark here, so it's going to get hard to see here soon, so. Okay.
Over the years, I've used many pack stools, but it hasn't always been easy to find one that's both comfortable and lightweight. After comparing weight, size, cost, and comfort, I came to the conclusion that the Camp Time pack stool came out on top every time. When it came to comparative weight, at only 14 ounces, this pack stool made it hard to find meaningful competition. With its folded size of only 22.5 inches long, it can be easily stored on the outside of your pack and quickly set up at a moment's notice.
A buddy of mine was saying that he was afraid that these things would hurt him between his legs when he sat down. And he was surprised to find that when he actually sat down on it, it was one of the most comfortable chairs he ever sat in, he said.
The manufacturer's claims of using 4 layers of polyester material to prevent seat sagging does seem to play a major role in this seat's comfort.
You know, you can always use things like that, you know, rocks stacked on top of each other, but it's very unstable, and then you got to lift all that stuff. You got to put everything, stack it all up and everything. Not always very much fun. But this, you pull it out of your pack, you set it up, and you're sitting and comfortable in seconds. Definitely worth it. It's just about dark now. Sun's disappeared over the mountain. My puppy dog over there. He's been chilling out ever since we got back with the water. Guzzling water, food. Finally got him to eat 2 bags of food. I'm glad of that. He's like me. He brings a lot of food out here and then he can't eat it. Just never as hungry as I think I am at home. I eat very little out here. Remember this super candle? This is the one that made out of this candy tin. And it's a pretty big flame I'm getting off of there. I'll probably cut some of that wick off as things progress here, just 'cause I don't need that big a flame. But you can use it for cooking. But I just like it for light a lot better. It leaves a lot of soot behind, so anything you cook in, you really should wrap in tin foil or something to keep it from getting like oily, waxy residue on the bottom of it from cooking. So, but this works rather nice for light rather than a fire. Keeping the bugs down, that kind of thing. And it is throwing off a lot of light, easily as much as any campfire that, you know, any small campfire that is. I know some people that like to have huge raging bonfires, but yeah. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a screech owl in the background. Among the crickets. Well, it's morning. My last day here. My little buddy here, he's wide awake all of a sudden. We had a good night's sleep. Say. You ready to go home?
Some ideas are meant to be modified over and over again until perfection is achieved. I've always felt that way about this particular idea. I found that, especially when I was out on the trail taking a break, the ropes would stretch, leaving the pack hanging low on the tree. And then when I tried to put it back on again, well, it never really turned out as well as I had hoped. And of course, tying a knot over one's shoulder is no one's idea of fun. So I've decided to rethink the entire idea from scratch. And why not take you along just so you can see how it was done? To start with, let's look at that apparatus I'm hanging around the tree. The original idea was simple. It was little more than a single piece of rope from the hanging loop on the pack to the tree. It was simple, but only useful when packing up to leave camp. But I needed something more, something that would be useful even when just taking a break on the trail. So I added this. For now, let's call it the hitching line. Adding it enabled me to create a solid and consistent hitching ring or carabiner to nearly any size tree. However, I keep losing these due to the dark color of the rope. So I vowed that the next one I created would take this into account. First, you'll need a carabiner. This one holds about 150 pounds, or at least it says so on the side of it anyway. These can be found in a lot of different stores, but I usually just look for the ones that have the notch in them that help them to hold a little bit more weight. This is about a 7-foot piece of clothesline. It's rated for about 80 pounds, but that's plenty heavy enough for what we need. I had been using 550 cord, but I found that it stretches way too much.
The first thing you need to do is keep your ends from fraying. So a simple, easy way to do this is to make a loop, twist once, twist twice, come up through the back, come up through the back with your end. And what that does is creates a little figure 8 knot. See how that looks? And then when I pull it together, it's going to keep that end from fraying. It'll only fray so far and then it'll stop, just like this one did at the knot itself. But that knot has another purpose to it too. If you have these simple stop knots on your laces, what you'll find, and when you tie this around the tree it works the same way. A regular simple bow alright, but instead what you're going to do now, instead of leaving these loose like this, you're going to pull them through so they hit the knot on both sides. Alright, this then you can really bear down on it to tighten it up really good and strong. Okay, and it's good and strong. If it's around a tree it'll be even stronger yet. But with those knots like that, you're going to have less tangling, and when it comes to pulling this, it's pretty easy to see that it's not going to get tangled up in that bow, and you simply pull it and it's gone. The next thing you need to do is you need to find the center. So if you put your two knots together and stretch it out all the way, you'll come up with the center point. Okay? And then basically what you're going to do is make one loop. And come behind your fingers. Alright? And put it right on your index finger like that. Okay? And then you're going to take these loops and go right over top. And pull. Tighten it up, and you'll have that loop in the center. That's for your carabiner.
The last part of this is something I like to call the hanging line. This rope is still nothing more than a 4-foot piece of line that goes from the hanging loop on the pack up to the carabiner. The Achilles heel to this idea was always tying this knot over my shoulder. There just never seemed to be a good way to do it. Fortunately for me, the idea kept evolving. I needed something quick and easy, something anybody could use. And then I found this. It's called a ratcheting rope hoist, and it advertises a maximum hoisting strength of 150 pounds. When I saw these advertised on the internet, my mind just started working overtime. With one small modification, I was able to turn this into the perfect hanging line.
All I did was remove this. And put this on instead. And then it doesn't release again unless you release it.
The best part about all this is that should your pack be a little too low on the tree, with a simple tug, you can bring it back up to where it needs to be again. One of the added bonuses I found was that reaching the release mechanism was easier than even untying the knot used to be. With the old system, the ropes always seemed to be in my way, always in front of me and dangling down to my feet. But the new system shows promise of several different storage options.
This is a really good rig. I'm kind of surprised at how well it works. Everything goes up really quick and easy. And it's not hard to use. That's the important thing. There's no knots to tie over your shoulder or anything like that. This weighs a little bit, but it's worth it. It's worth it to keep you from hurting yourself hanging your pack. And for people like me, hanging your pack is really the only option. You don't have many options when you're out there, especially when you're by yourself. I can't depend on my dog to lift my pack up and put it on my back. He just looks at me funny when I ask him to. Well, we're on our way out of the woods, and it's hot, just like the first day, and I'm sweating like a dog. No offense, but it's very hot and muggy, and I'm trying to take the fastest route down this hill as I possibly can. I was having a bit of problem with his pack, so I lightened up his pack, and mine is heavier now, which is not doing me any good. That's going to be some extra recovery time, ain't it? Oh well. He's done wonderful. I am so impressed with this guy. He is attentive, and he stays by my side. Somebody comes, like a dog or something, he comes and sits right by me. He's like the perfect companion. I'm so happy he's with me. He's having a little trouble with that pack though. He wants to get down the hill too. I'm only one sticking it, so you're going to have to be gentle and understand that it's a little tough for me. Tashonka, he's like running circles around me. Up the hill it was even worse, because then I was really embarrassed. He was literally coming back, running around me, and then going up the hill again. But every footstep has been some sheer torture on the way down. On the way up I was a little livelier. But after sleeping on the ground for a couple of nights and walking on this kind of terrain, it makes it a little tough. But I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. Can you tell? I've got a lot of pain right now, and I'm really thinking it'd be nice to take a break, but I don't want to take a break. He's, like I said, he's really been reluctant to leave my side, really. He does do these little exploring things, though. But I caught him. He'll go about 100 yards away from camp, and then he'll bark at something and then come running back to camp, like he got scared or something of his own voice. But he's having a great time. Well, onward. Needless to say, I can move a little faster when I'm using both my walking sticks. And I'm being extraordinarily careful right now, because if I have one of these dizzy spills right now, I'm going to be one hurting puppy. Again, no offense. Mosquitoes have been horrendous out here. And then you sweat, so it sweats off the bug spray, and then you're a roaming feast again. This was only 0.58 miles, but it beat the tar out of me. It's all uphill. If I were to rate this trail for the disabled on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's a 10. You know, if you come here, come prepared to really work and test your body. You ready to go? Huh? Come on, let's go. Poke the hay. Here we are. We're at the bottom of the hill. Finally. Took us a little while, but we did good. Boy, yes you are, you good boy. You did good. You did really good. Yes. Sometimes you don't want to come home. I'd rather just stay out here. Indefinitely. I think Tashonka enjoyed himself. Although when I got ready to put his pack on to come home, he was very excited. He was more than happy to put that pack on, which is kind of a rarity. He usually don't like to put the pack on because he knows it comes with work.
Although I thoroughly enjoyed hiking Lehigh Gap, over the course of my trip, I found myself getting annoyed more than once at the constant noise from the traffic in the valley below.
We all had fun. Though we didn't see much wildlife this time. Heard a lot last night. There's a lot of sounds like maybe coyote or deer running around the woods behind us.
At times it seemed there was no escape from it, and it constantly intruded on the peace I so desperately sought.
God knows that highway sound is probably coming through louder than I am. But to be honest, after that hill, I can't put the force behind my voice to yell.
Sitting there listening to the traffic drone on, I could feel any peace and tranquility I had found slowly slipping away.
Not always easy to hike with pain. It really works on your nerves. Sometimes you get very irritated and angry and go through a whole cycle of emotions.
As a rule, I've always found that these hikes are more therapeutic, with every footstep I could place between me and civilization. Well, time to go home.
Help.
Although this location was ideal for Tushunka's first time out, I'm sure next time I'll be looking for a place with far more seclusion.
Good boy.
As a wise man once told me, life has changed. And so I too must change, adapting to or overcoming each obstacle in my path. If nothing else, this in itself brings me back to the wilderness, time and time again, to be rejuvenated by the wild places of the Mother Earth herself.